What a lesson some of us learned last week. Right off the Bombers at your own peril. They beat the equal flag favourites, the Demons, and are now 4-1 and headed into a monster Anzac Day clash. Hello and welcome to Fox Sports Lab AFL. I'm your host, Ben Dixon, Hawthorn champion and Essendon doubter, Jason Dunstall, and Jack Heverin, our stats guru, who stepped in. Jason, welcome.
Thank you, Diggo. I'm still trying to douse the flames from the Bombers last week. Geez, did they do a number on me. Yeah, that hurt. We'll bounce back.
Jack, great to have you on board.
Good to be here. Thank you for being here. Al's obviously got sunstroke, so hence why I'm back. And if anyone was going to get sunstroke, it'd be me. But here we are. Fascinating gather round. But this round coming up, including Anzac Day, there's a fair bit to talk about.
There's plenty to talk about. Al didn't appreciate me sunning his 45-kilo frame, so he didn't text me during the week. Well, it's time for Dunstall's Don't Argue. And Chief, rather than double down on the Bombers, let's talk about a massive issue in the competition at the moment that you want to address.
Right, well, we all know that concussion is the number one issue in the game. And we have got players, we're 5 weeks in now, 8 players, 13 weeks total suspension. There were 3 last week for dump tackles or sling tackles, whatever you want to call them. Who is not getting the message across here? Now, there's a few factors at play. I know the coaches have a role to play. And we spoke to John Longmire earlier in the week, who said they instruct their players not to tackle the player to the ground if possible. If you're running, momentum takes you that way, I get it. But who's dumb enough to sling a player to the ground at the moment? To understand what is doing. We want the best players running around out there. So there's a couple that aren't going to be playing in the Anzac Day clash, which is a rather large clash, and we'd like to see the best players running around. So why are they not getting the message? I don't understand. And most of all, think about me. I'm trying to do my tips, and I don't want to sit here because we've got to put them early in the week and worry about, who's going to challenge their dump tackle at the tribunal, because you're not going to get off anyway because you're dumb, and I don't understand. It's ruining my tips, Dicko.
Well, the way he goes about it, he says, are they dumb enough? He normally refers to ruckman as the guys that
Well, a lot of ruckman running around at the moment.
Yeah,
They're
just
all pretending to be ruckman, Dicko.
But he makes a good point, Jack, because Zach Merritt, first time as Essendon captain, he's going to miss the Anzac Day clash. We're averaging 3 a week. The message is not getting through after 5 rounds.
Yeah, and Taylor Adams is the other. For a Collingwood team that have already got a lot of injuries, they would love to have him out there for Anzac Day as well. I just wonder, Chief, whether they need to start to, whatever the decision, you think about the bump. In the first 3 weeks, players were booked. It was obvious that there was a crackdown and things changed. Is this the direction that things need to go now? Do they need to get a bit tougher and ram home the message?
Well, they do, but having said that, we've been on the bump for ages, and they came out and they said, if you bump, you're responsible for any incidental head contact. Well, they're interpreting the sling tackle as exactly the same. If you throw a player to the ground, you're responsible for whatever happens. They should have come out and said it. The other thing that should happen is the umpires can help us by actually blowing the whistle. Remember, it was only a couple of years ago when Brad Scott was in charge of football operations of the AFL. He brought in if you do a 360, you get pinged for holding. You can do 1,080 now. You can go around 3 times. The umpires won't blow the whistle. So eventually you're hanging on to the player and they think, well, he's going to get rid of the ball if I don't do something, so I chuck him to the ground. So I think they can help us as well.
But when you're at Clubland, the tackling coaches there, you get some of the great NRL tackling coaches come in and teach you technique. Back when we were playing, we were never taught to sling tackle. So this is a player-driven motion, because once you've pinned the arms, it was never dump, sling, tackle. So I don't know where it's come from. I'm glad John Longmire's come out and gone, for God's sake, don't take him to ground. That'll solve our problem. But it's a big issue, Jack.
So is that the next thing then, Dicko? Is that does the technique need to change and the way that the players are being coached? The game's about keeping everything moving now and keeping flow going. I agree with what you're saying about whistling up earlier, Chief, but do the techniques need to change?
Well, it's a matter of the attitude is, if you're both running at momentum, you're going to go to ground. But if you're standing, you're around a stoppage, that sort of thing, you just hang on to them and you don't tackle them to the ground. So I don't think that's a technique thing. I think that's a mindset thing. I mean, the tackling coach has never had a problem with Diggo. His tackling was perfect. He could just never catch a player to tackle. So we had issues there.
He's got such a great point. And just on the sling tackle, it's a great deflection. The Chiefs come in with this ranting and raving about his Bombers sell last week.
Hey, I still made money on the stock. It's just that they've gone through the roof, Dicko.
All right, the Chief has spoken. If you don't want to do the time, don't be dumb enough to do the sling tackle crime. The Swans could not have picked a worse time or place for their grand final rematch. It's the Cats' first home game at GMHBA Stadium and they are unfurling the 2022 Premiership flag, and the Swannies have been hit with a raft of injuries. Chief, it would take a brave person, and you are very, very brave, wouldn't it, to tip the Swannies?
Fine line between brave and stupid. There you go. Let's be brutally honest. I know they're unfurling their flag, the Cats, but they are a mere shadow of the team that won that flag. And Sydney have got plenty of injuries, but I like the way they're playing. I love their midfield. I like Warner and Goulden. These type of players are getting the job done. It's going to be tough down back. That's a real big issue if Hawkins is starting to find some form. We know Jeremy Cameron's playing well. It's got a feeling the Swans are on a little bit of a roll.
So half a footy against the Hawks and a full game against West Coast.
Yeah.
Pretty
They haven't beaten anyone.
They haven't beaten anyone.
They're beating up on the little 50-pound weaklings.
Oh, what do you reckon, Jack?
Well, their average height's 184 centimetres in defence, Sydney. So what they're doing is remarkable. Keep an eye on the Cats' midfield here. They're outscoring opposition teams by 14 points a game from clearances. So the midfield's got a lot to decide in this game.
All right, Jack. Well, Lions are back in business. Luckily, no snow predicted for Canberra. They take on the Giants on Saturday. Who are you going with?
Well, they've lost their last 7 at Manuka Oval, the Giants, and in 5 of those games, they've conceded more than 100 points a game. So for their home away from home, it's not a good home, not a happy environment at the moment. So the Lions, for me, I think they're starting to build.
Got out of jail, didn't they? The Giants beating Hawthorn. And they're one of those teams to go trying to squeeze themselves into the bottom 4.
Yeah, you're big on that.
Yeah, there's a few of them trying to squeeze in down there.
But Adam Kingsley, have you seen anything different that's positive on the Giants? Oh, that's a good chat.
I know what he's trying to do. I think we've all overrated the list. That's the problem.
Okay, all right. That's 3 of us sensibly picking the Lions, but the Chief is going it alone in
Come on,
tipping the
Swannies.
Swans to spoil the Cats' premiership flag party. Can you believe it? The Saints have won 4 of 5 and they're only lost by 6 points against the Magpies, and yet they go in as underdogs against my Carlton. I say Carlton because I had them in the top 4. Jack, can the Blues kick enough goals at Marvel Stadium on Sunday against the league's meanest defence?
This is the big question. They concede 59 points a game. That's it, St Kilda across the season. So Carlton have got this star-studded midfield led by Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow, but it's the big if. The only thing for them, they're playing at Marvel, where in 7 of their last 8, they've kicked 98 points a game. So that might help them. I've tipped the Blues, but with no confidence whatsoever.
I'm in exactly the same boat, and it's the Carlton midfield that's not getting the job done. Cripper and co. They've got to get a little bit better. Sam Walsh is back in, 2nd week back, so hopefully he can have an impact. But Dicko, I'm losing a little bit of faith, and Ross might just suffocate them.
So you're saying this will come down to the coaching box, because talent-wise, you look at them.
I didn't say that.
No, I'm putting it there.
Form's an important thing.
Yeah.
Upstairs for the players, above the shoulders. Who could possibly work out what's going on there? I'm just saying they're not playing like a top 4 team yet, the Blues.
Doesn't take much to wind him up there, Jack, does it? All right, now, Chief, Stuart Dew would have looked at the fixture and just said, right, Kangaroos, I'll put this one in the book, but is it as a lay down as we think?
Not at all. The first thing Stuart Dew thought was sell out when he saw this clash to go. He thought Suns against North Melbourne High Town. Honestly, they're both going like bastards, aren't they? Let's be brutally honest. I tipped Suns as my upset last week, and they had the game shot to bits and then gassed it against the Dockers. But I think at home, Jack, maybe they can get the points.
Maybe. It's very concerning what happened at the end against Fremantle last week. Conceded 7 of the last 9, lost the uncontested count by -47, inside 50s -10, and their pressure rating was just horrible. So, again, who do you tip? And with no confidence, I suppose. Maybe the Suns, but who knows?
Well, there's a logjam now, we're saying
you
the
tipping?
Giants, North, the Suns, Hawthorn, West Coast. How many can fit into the bottom 4?
Yeah, 6 doesn't go into 4, but
No, that's
they're
right.
all having a crack. Well, which way do you go?
I've gone with North Melbourne.
Why?
Because I think they're a better team than you think with LSC Clarkson. All right?
Seen them as a better team the last 3 weeks, haven't you?
Well, let's be honest. We're 3 from 3 for the Blues, but I'm going with Alistair Clarkson's Kangaroos to inflict another loss on the struggling Suns.
Footy is life. It's loyalty, rivalry, love and pain. Footy is everything. That's why we've made a betting brand for footy fans. That's better. Chances are you're about to lose.
We move to big Anzac clashes, and Jason, the in-form Essendon have injected more hype into this blockbuster against Collingwood. Will you be tipping the Bombers this week?
It's a tough game. Let's be brutally honest, and I just don't want to get sucked in by all the hype on the Bombers at the moment. They're playing great footy. They ran the D's off their feet, run and carry by hands. But they come up against an equally powerful running team in Collingwood, who've got a pretty good record in recent times. I think they've won 7 of the last 10 Anzac Day clashes. So, hoping the Pies get the job done. If Essendon win this, my stock portfolio's out the window, I'm telling you right now, because you won't be able to buy back in.
I reckon you're guessing at the moment. You said Essendon.
We all guess on our tips, you lunatic.
Yeah, Essendon. He's writing them off. What are you doing, Jack?
I'm with the Pies. I just want to put Tom Mitchell on the radar. His game against St Kilda. 28 disposals, 6 clearances, 6 tackles, kicking the footy at 86%.
Yep.
I think he's been fantastic for Collingwood, and I'm with the Pies this week.
Yeah, I'm loving the Pies as well.
Oh, hang on. You just had a go at me for jumping off the Bombers.
Well, in your stocks, you're selling, you're just off them, they keep winning.
I still made money.
Yeah. Well, you always make money because your
Please.
name's Jason Dunstall. All right. Now, another big Anzac clash eve, and it's at the MCG. The Demons hold all the aces with the Tigers, surely in this one, Jack.
They do, and you go back to Richmond's game last week, conceded 81 points off turnover, so they're lacking in leg speed, and when they give it up, they're not able to defend back the other way. So I think for a Demons team, Chief, who transition the footy really quickly when they're at their best, I think the Tigers are in trouble.
Tigers not scoring off turnovers, using the ball poorly. D's for me.
Isn't it frightening that Melbourne can not be going that great but still sit well and truly in the 8? Good chat again. All right, that's great. Getting some great feedback today on the show. Don't you just love Anzac Day round? Bring it on. It's time to look at the tips. And Jason, we bravely ran the gauntlet last week and lost. But not Jack. He took the conservative road and landed a lazy 7 in Al Patton's absence.
Like shelling peas, fellas. Like shelling peas.
Money for old rope, Jack reckons. All right, let's start with the Dockers and the Bulldogs in Perth. And Chief, can we expect an upset here, or the Doggies going to turn the table?
Yeah, well, I think it's a really close game. I don't like the way the Dockers are travelling, in particular, although they salvaged a win last week, didn't they, by getting over top of the Suns. And the Bulldogs, well, their inability to score is what's worrying me. They cannot put a score on the board, so I'm genuinely concerned the way they're travelling. This was one of those where I just thought, gut feel, Bulldogs, maybe they're due, but Freo just travelling, so I don't know what to do.
I went the Dockers with no conviction whatsoever. Just on the Bulldogs, how are they 17th in the competition for points scored?
Yeah, I know.
Staggers me, to be honest. Fremantle have got to start well. They've lost every first quarter so far this season. They've only won 3 of their last 20 first quarters. So
It's not a great endorsement.
no,
is
it's
it?
not. So I'm with the Dockers mainly because it's at home, and who knows?
Who'd you tip?
I'm with the Doggies
Why?
because I just think their ball movement's a lot better at the moment than Fremantle.
What ball movement have you been watching? They're scoring 59 points a game. How well can they be moving it?
Well, they're moving it well there, but Fremantle are moving it absolutely horrible. All right, now, Jack, what's more likely, the Eagles beating the Power in Adelaide on Saturday, or Jason Dunstall's hair to regrow?
Is that a ball joke?
It is.
You know you're on
Not
a
a
panel
bad.
with 2 ball blokes. Have you worked that out?
I am the odd one out.
Yeah,
I'll
you
wear my
are.
hat next week.
That's a nice tap you got up there too. No, absolutely nowhere near it. The West Coast Eagles, their reserves lost by 169 on the weekend. They're conceding 538 points in the first 5 games. This is a big chance for the Power to fatten up their percentage.
Who you like?
It's impossible not to like the Power. And they're only just going. They've been up and down too, the Power, but my goodness.
All right, the Hawks were only a Harry Himmelberg fingertip away from beating the Giants on Sunday, but Chief, you don't expect them to get that close to the Crows this Sunday in Launceston, surely?
No, I know it's down in Launceston. The Hawks do love it down there, and they beat North Melbourne down there, their only win of the season. But let's be brutally honest, Adelaide are travelling. They're playing really, really well. Well, right in their first 2 games. How they dropped the game against GWS round 1 in Sydney is beyond me. Had a chance to beat Richmond round 2. Then have come good. Knocked over your mob, the supreme beings, in Carlton last week. So I think Adelaide are playing a really good brand of football and should be too strong for the Hawks.
I'm interested to see, after this week, what it looks like for Adelaide. Collingwood, Geelong, St Kilda are their next 3 games beyond this one. So we tick this box on the weekend. 2nd in the competition for points for, but 10th in the competition for inside 50. So what that means is that when it goes in, they score. It's not always going in, but when it goes in, they get bang for buck.
All right, let's go back to pre-season. Adelaide, where did you have them in the 8 or
No,
just
outside
outside?
the 8,
Outside the 8. And you're saying they could be 5
Oh,
and 0.
what? You're the great prognosticator, are you? You had them in the 8, did you?
Well, let's go back to the tips.
Yeah, you
I had
didn't
them
have
just
them in
outside the 8.
Yeah, correct.
But they are playing an incredible brand of
They are
football.
playing well.
So when we look at it, I don't really give a chance at all to. Anyway, we won't go there. All right, Jack. One more quick question. So right now he's bagging me for picking Carlton. Who's your bolter for the year?
Adelaide. Adelaide have been outstanding so far this season. They've been brilliant. I'm happy to admit I had them nowhere near the top 8. I had them as a bottom 6 team, and sometimes you got to put your hand up and say that you got it wrong. And with Adelaide, I got it really wrong. They've been great.
Dicko has a problem putting his hand up.
No. I put my hand up a lot.
Or
All right,
putting
let's.
his hand in his pocket if it's his shout.
I've heard that.
He squeaks, he's that tight. I've told you that. I've got the mic here, let's have a go. All right, let's quickly go back over round 6 tips. Jack is going it alone with the Dockers to down the Bulldogs. Jason is breaking ranks and tipping
Come on,
the
Swannies.
Swans to gain some grand final revenge against the Cats. And I can sniff a kangaroo size upset on the Gold Coast. Can't believe I'm going with that, but I'm backing you in, Clarko, so let's go for it. Jack, outstanding sitting in for Al Patton. You've been terrific.
Thank you, Dicko.
Jason, pretty average today, but lift your game next week. Thanks for joining us on Fox Sports Lab AFL. Make sure you subscribe below and follow us on socials, and we'll see you next week.
Footy is life. It's loyalty, rivalry, love and pain. Footy is everything. That's why we've made a betting brand for footy fans. That's better. Chances are you're about to lose.